Joining us now is Dave McCormack. He is Executive Vice President of Business Development, Investigative Solutions Network, and he's on the line with us now. Hello, Dave. How are you today?
I'm well, Scott. How are you?
Good. Thanks for taking the time to join us. What is Investigative Solutions Network?
The Investigative Solutions Network is a large, very comprehensive investigative company based in Pickering, Ontario, but we do business throughout Canada and the United States. And virtually everything you can imagine, we've expanded a lot beyond what you would consider a normal investigative company to be doing. We provide an awful lot of training to corporations. We do a lot of pre-employment screening, and I'd encourage anybody with the opportunity to have a look at their website at isninc.ca.
Online world, obviously, your business is affected just like pretty much every other business is affected. It's a whole new world out there. Why is there a need, and what are your thoughts on what Kingston's doing?
Well, I think the need has emerged because more and more criminals are seeing the opportunity to set up and rob, or even worse, kill people for whatever reason by engaging with them on the Internet, sometimes under the guise of buying property from them or selling property to them, and then meeting them in a location where they can then perpetrate whatever crime they have planned. It's becoming a little bit too increasingly opportunistic, and it gives them the opportunity to rob, steal, defraud, or whatever it is they may want to do.
So is this a good alternative?
I think it's a safe alternative, absolutely. I mean, there are some guidelines that everybody should follow. If they've made a deal on the Internet and they're going to meet somebody in person for the purpose of buying or selling property, they should safeguard themselves as much as possible. And kudos to the Kingston Police Service for providing an opportunity to meet in a safe place. Obviously, a police officer is not going to be standing there brokering the transaction or watching the transaction, but my information from Kingston is that it's in a parking lot at a police station, a specified area, well lit and under video surveillance at all time, and obviously there are police officers and members of the police service nearby.
We've been trying to get a hold of someone from Kingston to talk about this, but obviously there must have been a need to create such a space.
I'm not aware of any specific incidents in Kingston that caused a need for it. I think it's proactive on the Kingston Police Service's part to provide that service to their community.
Do you think that this will work?
Well, I think it will, absolutely. It creates a safer environment for those transactions to take place. It protects the buyer and the seller.
Should this be a good, I guess, procedure that most should take advantage of in this area? Or even, as far as doing any transactions, you should obviously be doing these in a public place. Should people now start just making the local police station a point of reference and a point of doing the transaction?
Well, I would hesitate to say yes, to just show up at the police service and start transacting whatever it is that you're selling. I mean, if they were to walking in the front door of a police station carrying a couch or a 55-inch screen TV and things like that, I think that the police officers and the members on scene might have something to say about that, because it would be counterproductive and interrupting with the business of running the police station. But I think it's a good customer service that Kingston is providing for them. I think other services will probably take a look at providing something similar. I know that most police services do provide a set of guidelines as to how to best protect yourself when dealing with these situations. You
talked about online guidelines. Give us some of those. Give us some tips if people are considering doing this.
Well, I think some of the things that everybody needs to consider is that you should never go alone. Make sure that you bring somebody along with you. Tell somebody where you're going and what you're going there for. Let them know what you're doing, what time you're going to be there, what time you're expected to be back home. Meeting in a public place that is well lit in a busy area during daylight hours, I think, is crucial. And if you can, make sure you're going somewhere that has very good video coverage, video surveillance cameras in the area. I would never let a stranger into my home. I wouldn't go into a stranger's home for this purpose. Don't get into anybody's car with them to go and look at the product, whatever that may be. Make sure you have your cell phone with you. I would say don't wear, Scott, anything that you're not prepared to lose. So don't go wearing flashy jewelry. Don't take any more cash than you need to take to conduct your transaction. Don't bring your wallet full of credit cards. Don't bring those things that you could lose and be victimized very quickly before you even have a time to report them, where these bandits can then drain your account or run up your cards. Inspect the item before you pay for it. I mean, oftentimes, for example, laptops in a sealed box are sold without the person ever looking at them, and when they get it home and pop it open, it's full of newspapers that weigh about the same as a laptop would. So don't be that type of a victim. And I think something we've been told by our parents and grandparents for years, and we tell our kids, trust your instincts. I mean, if it doesn't feel right, it's not right. And if you don't feel right and you're a little bit hinky about it, walk away. If the deal sounds too good to be true, then it's too good to be true. Don't be a victim. You don't need that item that badly that you're willing to lose, at the worst case scenario, your life over it.
Do you think these sorts of sites will be used a lot? Any reports of how busy this site has been in Kingston? Are people taking advantage of this, do you know?
People are taking advantage of it, but my understanding is it's not that busy a site.
Yeah. Do you think,
what a great alternative. What a good move by the Kingston Police Service, in my view.
Well, it's interesting, too, that spokespeople for Kijiji have been encouraging other people in other jurisdictions to come up with some sort of thing. I mean, you don't have to necessarily do this at a police station. I mean, this could be done in any public area, could it not?
It could, as long as you follow some of the guidelines that we've just touched on and the guidelines that are put out by sites like Kijiji and Craigslist, and police services across North America are more and more frequently putting these types of guidelines on websites as well.
Do you think there should be any extra laws on the books for something like this? I mean, is there any way to police this anymore? I mean, it's pretty tough when, two people out on their own are just conducting some sort of transaction.
No, I don't think any laws need to be put in place to govern how those transactions take place. I mean, we're going to always take advantage of technology, and newer generations certainly latch on to technology a lot faster and use it more quickly than some other generations do. I don't know that it needs to be legislated. I think we need to make sure that we're bringing our children up to understand the perils of this type of interaction, and just to make sure that they're as properly and as well armed going into these situations as they possibly can be.
Do you think it's self-policed enough? I mean, pretty much people know who they're dealing with, in the sense that, they do have some sort of a check on these people's performance if they paid, that sort of thing. Does the industry itself do enough to police this?
I think the industry does. I think with the guidelines they put out and making sure that they're dealing with a secured website, I think the industry does, absolutely. I think where people sometimes fall down on themselves is when they get a little bit greedy and they think that they're going to be able to buy this tremendous item for such a low cost price. I think that's when we need to kind of step back and say, wait a minute, does this make any sense? Is this a realistic price for what it is that I'm buying? Or why does this person want me to send them the item sight unseen? They're willing to buy my piece of jewelry without coming and seeing it, for example, and they're going to fax or transaction, email, somehow get the money to me. And obviously when the money shows up, it's fraudulent, the check never clears, the check's on a stolen account, the account's closed, those types of things. So we need to step back and don't make ourselves a victim, because there are enough predators out there looking to prey on people in this type of an environment. But again, most people that deal in this are good, upstanding people who legitimately want to sell or buy their products. But anytime you have an enterprise like this, certainly the criminal element is going to find its way in. Are
there a lot of perpetrators? I mean, there's so many of these transactions that go on all the time, Dave. I mean, is it pretty much a safe environment to do business in?
I would say for the most part it is a safe environment to do business in, but it's hard to answer your question, because a lot of people, when they are victimized in this fashion, are embarrassed by it.
Yeah.
Much like any type of a fraud, they don't want to come forth and report. They don't want to realize, or they don't want to have their friends realize that they made a mistake like that, or their family, because they feel embarrassed.
Yeah. Makes sense. Dave McCormack's been with us, Executive Vice President of Business Development of Investigative Solutions Network, Inc., talking about Kingston Police Service creating a safe space for residents to buy and sell and trade their items through various online classified ads. Dave, thanks for the time and insight. Much appreciated.
My pleasure, Scott. Have a great day.
You too. It is 12:23. It's 900 CHML. I'm Scott Thompson. Good.